welcome back to part 4 of episode 111, The List.
That does not miss.
I'm Mike Hogan.
And as always, I'm Justin Carter.
And this is Top Rope Reality. Let's talk about the Top Rope Reality storybook. And we get this thing out, we dust it open, we open to chapter 6, which is father and sons who have won
the same titles.
The same wrestling titles. Chapter 6, Ted DiBiase Jr., the World Tag Team Championships.
What? Here we go. Back to the tag ranks now. Although this father-son duo also held the $1 million championship for all but 229 days of that title's history. So somebody else had that belt for 229 days? I know Virgil had it.
Jinx.
Yeah, we are king.
Roddy Piper, I think.
Oh.
Jake had it. Jake put it in the bag with the snake.
Oh my word. Belt meant nothing. Anyway.
It did not mean nothing.
The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, forged a fine career as one of the top wrestling heels of the 1980s and early 90s, performing in the main event of WrestleMania 4 and generally being a, what?
Cheshire Cat.
Cheshire Cat-esque thorn. That was weird. I don't know what all that is. People using really big words for no reason.
More cat talk.
In the sight of all the era's biggest babyface on us, DiBiase won the WWF World Tag Team Championship on 3 occasions with the previously mentioned IRS. And Ted DiBiase Jr. replicated this feat, only replacing the F for an E. Twice with fellow second-generation wrestler, which, y'all do know Ted DiBiase Jr. is not a second-generation wrestler, people. Ted DiBiase's mother and father, I'm talking about Ted DiBiase Sr., mother and father were both wrestlers. So actually, Ted Jr. is 3rd generation. Cody is 2nd generation. So I don't believe they called him a 3rd generation wrestler on here at all. Pretty sad, people, that you didn't know that.
No, what it is.
So anyway, he was with a 2nd generation wrestler, Cody Rhodes. Ted Jr. was tipped for a long career at the top of the WWE, with many clamoring for him to be the man. Really? I did not know this.
Oh my lord!
Y'all stupid.
News to us, folks.
Very much news to us. I don't know who came up with this mess. But he was apparently the man that they wanted to eventually break The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak. And it says it's probably a good thing that did not happen. I think he could have. Woo! That'd been weird.
It would have been weird. And we wouldn't have saw that coming at all.
Never. But I'm just saying, Ted should have never been that person. But I do believe that he could have had a better career than what he had. Mm-hmm. But once he had that family, he said, never mind. And really and truly, honestly, it's sad to say this, but all 3 DiBiase sons became wrestlers. And all 3 of them, much like Curtis Axel to Mr. Perfect, have disappointing careers. I mean, if you really, honestly, at the end of the day, look at the history, those 3 boys will be considered a disappointment in wrestling compared to Ted Sr.
How about Ric Flair?
Ric Flair's son, disappointment. Not Reed, I'm talking about David. I mean, Reed never had a chance.
Reed might have been the difference, but a lot of these people have sons, and then
Larry the Axe Hennig was great, but Kurt Hennig, in my opinion, was better, and then it skipped a generation. And not so much for Curtis Axel. So honestly, I think Curtis Axel's career, just like unfortunately Bo Dallas's career, which is another son of a great wrestler, will go down in history as jobbers, and it's really sad.
It is
because they have that natural ability.
You could use them so much more, and they just
exactly. I mean, I like Bo Dallas when he was in NXT when he was the heel champion there. You know, when he first came into WWE, I kind of liked the he didn't have to be as goofy as they made him.
No, they made him goofy.
But you gotta believe.
Yeah, we can go back to that. We'll see.
I hope so. But anyway, what's up next?
Up next is the 15 biggest matches WWE should have booked in the 90s, but did not.
They didn't do it.
Shawn Michaels versus Mr. Perfect.
Speaking of Curtis Axel's daddy, Shawn Michaels' 1996 was very up and down, featuring many twists and turns centering around his opponents and the future plans the company had for him. The high point came at WrestleMania 12. Well, I was getting there.
I know.
I was counting.
You're learning.
I am learning. When he defeated the Hitman for the title, but a low point was the summer of 1986 when his opponents were the British Bulldog and Vader, which they don't. That doesn't have to be a disappointment.
It does.
Both great in their own right.
It's making pretty bad now.
Both should be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. I think Vader should pick on people of his own size and leave Will Asprilla alone.
Now, so.
Really? The match is off.
It may be off.
Oh, Vader's like, yeah, he's hiding from me now.
I know. Just use it for a bigger payday, what it is.
It's so sad too, because Vader's like 70. Like, leave the little boy alone. Pick on people your own size. Anyway, Mr. Perfect actually served as a special guest referee for Shawn's main event match with Davey Boy Smith at the 1996 King of the Ring. Perfect was still in great shape and would soon make a return to the ring, although it would end up being for the rival WCW. There was a WCW. There was a tease and groundwork was being laid down for a potential Michaels Perfect feud during the build to the King of the Ring, but it never materialized. Although these two men had been in a feud for the Intercontinental Championship SummerSlam 1993, it was cut short, having never been settled due to Hennig's back injury flaring up again. Perfect was an all-time great. Anytime there was a tease of him stepping back into the ring, fans were excited. The summer of 1986 was no different, and like a potential matchup with Warrior and Mr. Perfect Shawn Michaels feud would likely result in the favor of Shawn. Still, instead of matches against Davey Boy Smith and Goldust, nothing wrong with that either. The WWE could have booked Shawn's 1986 around matches with the Ultimate Warrior. At that 1986 Ultimate Warrior, that's a bad idea. And Mr. Perfect. Though it still wouldn't have been able to compete with the NWO angle from WWE's competition, a Shawn Perfect and Shawn Warrior program would have been much more entertaining television than what fans got. And sometimes it's not about the people in the feud, it's about the execution of the feud.
See, I'd rather see Shawn and Perfect and Shawn and Warrior. I wouldn't mind seeing Shawn and Davey Boy. Shawn and Goldust, Shawn and Vader, no, not really.
It's all about what you. I mean, you got to take.
Because if you have Vader, Warrior and Vader are about the same, big tough dudes, and that puts them about the same type match.
Yes.
So, but Perfect is much better than Goldust. And I love Shawn and the Bulldog. I mean, that's all you have all this stuff there. Shawn with the hearts and Shawn Davey with the hearts. So that builds great.
Yep.
And Perfect Shawn, like you said, they're like.
And Perfect and Shawn are very even.
Yeah.
Whereas, so that could be a very high-paced, high-energy match. Whereas Shawn and Warrior and Shawn and Vader, Shawn's going to get beat down the whole time, and he's going to have to come back and be the underdog and all that kind of good stuff.
Right.
But, you know.
And Shawn bad versus good Warrior, Shawn loses. Bad Vader versus good Shawn wins.
Yes. So. It all depends on the character. Yep. That's why I said you got to take lemons and make lemonade. Sometimes you may not have the best opponents to work with, but you got to deal with what you got to deal with.
Yeah, you're right.
But up next we got the Hall of Fame. Should be.
Might be.
Not at all. Not going to happen. Leave it alone. Don't even bring them up.
I'm not going to bring the 50 people down, so no.
Right. I mean, basically, yeah, some of those 50, though, will be a part of this list. But we're going to go with the might be.
The might be.
And I could, this person right here, a little build up here. This person right here, I definitely think, because I got a little bit of time before I got to go pick up the lady. This person right here, I mean, yes, his wrestling career is great. But I also look at, because, I mean, he started when he was very old. Like, not old, but old in wrestling age.
Yeah.
He started at a very late age.
Wrestling, yes.
But at the same time, his contributions to the continuation of wrestlers' legacies will help him to go into the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Helping rehab a couple of people, and possibly more later on.
Putting him at the might be, I mean, he could have fell into a should be.
I definitely think he should go in, but
the way he fell this week, he's a might be.
And that is...
If it had been somebody else I could have found, he might have been waited to be a should be another time, so...
And that is the man who sued Jay-Z for this. And now everyone in America is doing it.
Yes.
Because of certain, supposedly, Illuminati.
We know what upside down one is, huh?
Oh, we do know what that is. DDP used to do that. WCW, but like...
If you watch Ready to Rumble.
Yes. Yes. But anyway, we're talking about Diamond Dallas Page, and we're talking about him rehabbing people like Jake Roberts and Scott Hall, who right after getting rehabbed went into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so he may go in this year.
I think
next year. Yes.
I think he should definitely go in.
Well, he should be, which I'm surprised he's not already, because I guess he's still a part-timer.
He's still there.
Come get drug tested.
Don't do it. But yes, that's why he's not in yet, because he's still active.
But it is the rock and roll of Alatola of rock and roller.
But say not the Rock and Roll Express. I don't know where you're going with that.
Get the Mr. I need my scarf here. Put my scarf at.
Soak it in.
Stupid idiots.
Stupid idiots.
Chris Jericho, yes.
This Y2J.
Well, definitely.
The lead singer of some band. That's it. Fozzie. Fozzie the Bear.
It's not the Muppets.
Not the Muppet. They picked a weird name there. But this next one, who happens to be part of the 50 People Suing, has had a long career. Very long career. He's a big name in ECW. He had a mediocre gimmick that a certain guy named Matt Striker stole from him later on. And did it a lot more successfully, I might add.
He should never have been that.
What?
That should never have been his gimmick. It was terrible.
Who, this person or Matt Striker?
No, this person shouldn't have done that.
He should have done this. Matt Striker, it fit him. It was totally fine. It was great. It worked out wonderful for him. Even though he became a jobber. But it happens.
It happens.
Better commentator anyway.
Happens to the best of them.
It really does. Look at Barry Horowitz. Anyway. Yes. I digress. So this person, part of ECW big time, part of WWE in a mediocre gimmick. He didn't wear a bull head though, so we'll eliminate him. And he was in WCW. He was in a tag team with a couple people. Two different ones. One tag team gold with one of them. Ooh. And he had some singles gold success in WCW. And was a major champion in ECW. And he was even given a title. Usually when that happens, you're good as gold, because look at Triple H. He got handed the title, and look where he's at, guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
This guy got handed a belt.
Pretty much any major wrestling federation he went to, he won gold. He won gold.
He was even handed this gold, and within 10 minutes, he lost it. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the man who should have never been Mr. Dean Douglas. We're talking about the franchise, not Sting, but we're talking about Shane Douglas. He was the franchise of ECW, while the franchise of WCW was Sting. He did great things. The franchise of WWE was John Cena.
Well,
back then would have been more The Undertaker, I guess.
Right?
But he's the franchise. But anyway, I am just saying. I mean, he did great things in ECW. He helped put them on the map, really and truly. About
you're making a controversy. ECW is first.
Yep.
He had more success, and
then more success in WCW, and then horrible in WWE. But it didn't go in that order for him, unfortunately, in his career. But anyway.
He gained nothing in TNA.
Nothing at all.
Wow.
Nothing at all. But yeah, I mean, I don't agree with him suing at all. I think he could have had a better career in WWE. But back then, Vince also always said, well, what was your career before being in WWE? What did your daddy do? What was he doing? What could have been different? Because Shawn Michaels could have said, well, my father was a military man. He could have been the next Sergeant Slaughter. Shawn Michaels could have been. I mean, think about it. I mean,
that's scary.
Think about the Goon. Was the Goon's father a hockey player? No, Jericho's father was. Thank goodness.
Jericho almost was the Goon.
They did try to get. I saw that in wasn't it him and Mark Henry talking about that in the ride along? That's funny. They were going to give it to him because his father was a hockey player. It's strange. I'm telling you, the way Vince liked to do it, he liked to give you gimmicks because of what you did. And Shane Douglas was a certified teacher. Let's make you a wrestling teacher. Vince.
No, Paul Bearer was a Paul Bearer. I mean,
he really was. He ran his own funeral home. But that worked for him.
Yeah.
Shane Douglas just needed to be Shane Douglas.
The franchise. It should have been the same
franchise
character from ECW, just tweaked a little bit for WWE, but not that much.
Not as much, no cussing, because back then it was still PG.
Yeah.
But he still could have been controversial. He still could have been crude and rude, blah, blah, blah. But he did not need to change him completely to being a dad-blamed teacher. And the nails on the tongue.
I know.
But he, again, that goes back to what I said in the Carter's Corner. Did he sign the contract?
He did.
Before he signed the contract, he knew what gimmick they were giving him.
Yep.
He signed the contract.
And
he claims the reason he left was because he wasn't making any money. He could have made more money being a teacher. That's what he claims. That the checks weren't rolling in like they were supposed to. Back then, it wasn't as big as it is now, and it wasn't a publicly traded company back then. So, and you were on the lower end of the card.
Yeah, you were fighting with WCW.
That too. So, anyway.
So we'll go recap. Should be Chris Jericho. Might be DDP. Not at all Shane Douglas.
That's true. They interview him, which they won't be interviewing no more after he sues them. But they have done interviews with him for ECW DVDs and for other things. But and that's a paycheck. They paid you to be interviewed, and now you done ruined that. You dumbass. Up next,
that's
what we're
a brain
doing?
injury.
It's a brain injury for you. What are we doing next?
Up next, we're going to talk about the 50 times WWE lied to our faces. We're doing number 7 and number 6 this week. Number 7 is the portrait of Triple H.
You mean the portrayal?
Oh, sorry. The betrayal. Yes.
Triple H has been a main eventer for about 17 years now. He's undoubtedly one of the best superstars that the business has seen. A future Hall of Famer. I wonder if he's going to do like Vince and wait till he dies to be in the Hall of Fame. And is likely to succeed Vince McMahon when the time is right. If Vince is not actually a robot and don't ever die.
Yes.
However, there is a bewildering portrayal, not betrayal. They didn't betray him. It's a portrayal.
Portrayal, yeah.
Portrayal. It's a very similar way to say those two words. Isn't that weird? Of the game as being a top guy in the WWE, especially if you look at the past. The Cerebral Assassin has always been one of the top guys, of course, but he's never been the top guy or the guy, like Roman Reigns likes to call himself. When he was rising to prominence, he wasn't as popular as Stone Cold later on, as popular as The Rock, even.
Yep.
When the duo left wrestling, he was in the shadow of rising stars like John Cena, Batista, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton. He did have a brief run as the top guy, maybe in 2002 when he returned from his quad injury, but that only lasted a few months before he was back to being a B-plus player. The simple truth is, simple truth is, as good as he was never WWE's face of the company, which again goes back to kind of how Undertaker was portrayed. He was always there when people weren't left. Triple H was there to pick up the slack. Stone Cold and The Rock were gone. Oh, we'll give it to Triple H and let him pick up the slack. But he was never truly made the top person in charge. He was in charge of DX, but Stone Cold was the guy at that point. So he was always in the top 5 guys, but he wasn't never the guy.
Not for a long period of time. No.
When
the
Raw brand first started, he was handed the belt, and they were making him the guy.
But it's moments, though, you think
small moments, yeah.
But you make the small moments, you take the small moments and people turn them into years.
Years, exactly.
And it's not really years.
It's basically just when they gave him the belt on Raw, and they had that run with him being the dominant champion with Evolution and everything, but that was only meant, really, to get Randy and Batista as the top guys. So he was really there just to catapult someone else.
Put somebody over?
Oh.
Not
He always buried him.
He always buried him, yeah. All the pictures you see of Hunter has a shovel in their hands.
Isn't that weird? But what's number 6?
Number 6 is 316, sparked the beginning of the Stone Cold Rise.
There are many moments that define the beginning of WWE's famed Attitude Era. The Montreal Screwjob, which led to the birth of Mr. McMahon, could be labeled as one of them, or Stone Cold beating Shawn at WrestleMania 14 could also be seen as what ushered in the era. However, some point to Austin's 316 promo after he won the 1986 World King of the Ring as the defining moment. There is a good case for that, but what is very misinterpreted is the 316 promo being the beginning of Stone Cold's rise. While it did put him on the map as he slowly but organically got over, isn't that an amazing thing to do? Don't shove them down your throat. Organically. It took a while for Vince McMahon to realize.
Roman Reigns, organically, Dean Ambrose.
Right. It took a while for Vince McMahon to realize that the star he had possessed. There was no immediate Austin 316 merchandise, nor was Austin suddenly seen as the guy, as one who would have believed. Austin wasn't even in any meaningful feuds following the King of the Ring. It was only until Survivor Series, after about 5 months later, that culminated in Austin becoming a star during his feud with Bret the Hitman Hart. Because clearly, winning the King of the Ring doesn't help your career.
No.
He had to wait for a while. Look
That's
at
true.
Wade Barrett. Didn't help him either, and apparently didn't help with Stone Cold. He had to wait till after the King of the Ring to keep building up.
Yeah, I would go more with Mr. McMahon. Roberto McMahon being the Attitude Era started. Then Austin doing the 316 thing.
Because without Mr. McMahon, would there truly ever be Stone Cold as the guy?
No.
Because he had to have Mr. McMahon. So you had to get to that point where the whole thing with Brett happened.
Yes.
But Austin had to feud with Brett before Mr. McMahon ever was born. So, But up next.
Up next, we're going to go to W Stars that failed as the guy, number 13, Batista.
Our Batista. The evolution of Batista in evolution. See what we did there? Created a new star for the WWE. He reached the top of the mountain by defeating Triple H in the main event of WrestleMania 21. He was the main event, not John Cena that year. They both won their respective world titles, but John Cena, JBL was not the main event.
No.
Batista was the main event. So see what they were looking at doing there. But it says that when he beat him, Batista's time as the top star of Raw was short-lived as he was sent to SmackDown a few months later on in the draft. That he believed more in John Cena to be featured on Raw, and Batista's transition to SmackDown did not go well, despite the brand split intending to create two equal programs. SmackDown was clearly the lesser show, and Batista still failed to succeed as the top face of the show. Batista's stock dropped gradually through the year, and SmackDown became as irrelevant as ever. The remainder of Batista's career was extremely successful, and he's a future Hall of Famer, but he couldn't thrive in the spot of being the guy. Batista showed he was best served as a secondary main eventer that can't carry a promotion on his back. And he was, again, kind of like we talked about Triple H, one of the top 5 while he was there, and he could deliver in matches with certain people.
Yep.
Not all of them.
Not all of them, no.
But with the right opponent, he could deliver. Him and Undertaker did great things. Him and Triple H did great things. Him and John Cena did great things. Him and JBL, not so much. Not so much. But certain people, great things.
That is true.
Him and Eddie, great things. And if Eddie wouldn't have passed away, we could have more of that, because that's what they were going with.
But you gotta look at these people, and I can see this, yeah.
Not everybody is going to be the guy.
No.
You can have 5 or 6 guys, but not the guy.
And out of the people right now, I think Seth is the guy.
Seth is the guy.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad they moved over.
I don't see Dean's the guy. I mean, I like Dean, but I don't see Dean being the guy. But I see Seth being the guy.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I don't see, because again, I'm not saying that Seth is like the Hogan, but right now that's kind of how they're pushing him as the guy. Mm-hmm. And Dean is more of a, I would say Shawn, maybe Dean is more of a Shawn Michaels.
I would say more Austin.
Well, I'm looking at his style and everything too.
Okay.
I'm saying he's more of Shawn, who was the guy at times too. Mm-hmm. And Dean is more laid back, not as much. Hey, I'm the man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's not as cocky about it. He's kind of laid back about it. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dean has more attributes as being a Stone Cold.
Yes.
Where Stone Cold never put it in your face that he was the man. He just beat the tar out of you.
Yep. He don't care what people think.
You're crazy.
Dean doesn't care what people think.
Exactly. So there's a lot of similarities with past generations of stuff.
Yes, which is good.
But I see Seth right now being the man. But right now we have potential for a lot of people to step up. Obviously, they don't feel maybe right now that Roman is in that spot, and he doesn't need to be in that spot. I didn't feel like he was ready when they gave him that spot. Nope. I'm not saying Roman is a bad wrestler because, in my opinion, in the short amount of time he's been in the business, he is caught on quickly. He's very green still, but even AJ Styles is he's a good opponent.
Okay, good match with AJ.
It's all about who you're in there with, and I think Roman is a good wrestler. I mean, you can't, I think, hearing somebody else say this, there's no way that you could say, I think it was Jericho talking this, he was interviewing somebody on this podcast. Mm-hmm. Jericho's like, he's second generation, and he's Samoan. You can't go wrong with that. And it's like any Samoan, for some reason,
no, I don't know that.
Some reason, to me, all Samoans have it in their DNA to be really good wrestlers. Some are greater than others, obviously. You have The Rock. So, hello. Yokozuna, even at his size, he was a great wrestler for what he could do. He was quick.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a handful of them that are up here. But if you really look at all the Samoans, they covered the low and the mid and the upper card. They were spread out. And even, I mean, to me, Usos are a great tag team. And in my opinion, by the end of their career, I think they should be considered one of the best tag teams. I'm not going to say the best tag team ever, but I think that they work well together, obviously, because they're twins. And they are exciting in the ring.
But don't break them up. You can't break them up.
No, you can't break them up. But to me...
But if one gets hurt, I mean, if one's put out, that's okay, because then you ain't bleeding off two of the same, pretty much twins, you know.
Right. But to me, that's a consummate tag team, though.
Yeah.
If you say that tag team is a great tag team, you just can't split them up. I'm not saying just because of the twin thing. They wouldn't work as singles wrestlers.
No.
Road Warrior
Not
Animal
together.
and Road Warrior Hawk.
Yeah, maybe singles, I mean, by themselves, maybe they would.
But not
I mean, because Jimmy or Jay, one of the ones, had a pretty good single match with Seth, but it was also against Seth. So.
Right. But like Road Warrior Animal and Hawk,
No.
don't make them singles
Some of
wrestlers.
you have to look and say they cannot be broken up.
You know? I mean, like Bubba Ray and Devon, they can be broken up. One is better than the other one. Obviously, we can see that with how they did as the singles wrestlers.
Yeah.
But certain tag teams don't need to be split up.
No.
And the Usos is one of them. But I will say this, I mean, for the most part, there's a lot of Samoans that are really good.
Yeah, there are.
So,
And,
but Roman has a lot more to learn still.
They went around the wrong way with Roman.
Right. I think they did it a little too quickly. I think they should have done it like Stone Cold with the slow, organic build. But here's the crazy
John
thing.
Cena's not around so much tomorrow. We need a new guy. Roman's it.
Right.
No. And people,
Take it slow. Take it slow with them. But I also...
And this may be a way of them covering themselves by going back. Okay, we'll drop you back down.
And then
You'll
slowly build you back
title,
up.
you'll build a little bit. You may turn heel. And then, boom, we'll try it again.
Right.
And it'll probably be a different story when you try it again.
Same thing with The Rock. They tried to push it too quickly, and they dropped him to a
Rocky
heel.
sucks. Rocky sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
They made him a heel, and it worked for him when he went back face. But I think going back to mid-card and building his back way, all the way back up, because he went straight from a big-time group that was mainstream, big-time group, straight into being a big single star. He didn't start from the bottom of singles and work his way up, but I think maybe
Could beat anybody, no matter who it
I
was.
think people would appreciate it more if he started back down there and built his way back up to that division of being in the top, and that'll be a little bit better because it'll be more organic. I think it'll work better that way.
It shows that he worked for it. People will appreciate him more.
But if you notice though, when he didn't lose the Royal Rumble, but the year before he won it, they loved him when he was in the Royal Rumble. They cheered for him and everything. Okay, that was the year they booed because Batista won.
Yes.
Because I think it came down to Batista and Roman Reigns.
Yes.
And they booed Batista. They were cheering Roman the whole time, but they truly just wanted Daniel to win the whole thing. They wanted him in it.
Right.
But
Rey Mysterio got booed. We're saying Rey Mysterio got booed. What the hell?
But with the whole thing with Roman, he got cheered that whole time when he lost. But then he got cheered while he was in the match. The next year, he just gets booed out of the building.
Because they wanted Rusev. They wanted Rusev to win it.
Just to not be. Just not to be Roman Reigns. People are very fickle.
But it gets old. You don't want the same guy to win the same event. Hey, we're on sidebar. The same event year after year after year. It gets old.
It does.
No. He just won it last year. Why, he's going to win it again? And he was going to win it again? Why?
I mean, Stone Cold did do it 3 times, but that's Stone Cold.
Yes, but you got to look at different things too.
Right. Different circumstances.
There's more some people to it than just Roman Reigns right here.
Right. Especially with the top guys they're bringing in right now with like AJ and Finn Balor, and they got Seth, and they got Dean. There's a lot more top name guys that they can work with, and I think that maybe that's one of the reasons they brought Roman down
and
a notch or
carry
two.
the company.
Right. I mean, yes, AJ carried a smaller company, but I think that he can carry at least a brand. He's not carrying WWE, but AJ can be that guy to carry.
He can be the WWE World Champion.
Yes, and he can carry SmackDown.
Yes.
It's not that he's carrying the whole company.
If he beats Dean Ambrose for the title, I would not be upset.
No, not at all. But
I'm kind of hoping, I like Dean, but I'm kind of hoping AJ becomes the world heavyweight champion for
at least once before he has to retire.
Yes.
Absolutely, and give him a good little run there. But anyway, we digress because I have to go. But next time on Top Rope Reality, we will talk, of course, our ringside news.
No telling what's going to happen?
No telling. That'll be part 1. Part 2 is pay-per-view review. We'll talk about Backlash.
What about, hey, more stars that failed as the guy? Next week will be RVD.
That's right. Top 15 times that he conveniently lied to us. I think we're at 5 and 4.
5 and 4, yep. We got the biggest matches the WWE should have booked in the 80s, but did not.
We continue to talk about the Cruiserweight Classic Tournament. The second round matches, we have 2 of those to go over.
2 of those. We're going to do the story time again, Chapter 7.
And the third round of the greatest Intercontinental Champions of SummerSlam.
So much more, like we did this time. We saw sidebar several times, so
it happens.
Come on back next week right here to Top Rope Reality. I'm Mike Hogan.
And I am Justin Carter.
And we'll see you next week right here.
Episode 112 next week.
112. 112.
112.
Thanks for watching again. We'll see you next week.